Brandon Mayfield, an Oregon lawyer, was convicted for the 2001 train bombing in Madrid, Spain, because of a fingerprint match found on a box of detonators located near the scene of the crime. After the continual reports from Spanish authorities that the fingerprint found was doubtfully his, he was released from prison, along with a $2 million settlement. Since the use of DNA evidence to re-examine cases, more than 200 people have had their convictions overturned. More than 100 of these cases were due to faulty or inaccurate forensic evidence. Forensic labs must undergo drastic reformation. There needs to be mandated certification for all forensic examiners, proving that they can use the latest technology and equipment and follow the methods that are commonly used in the laboratory environment. Forensic laboratories across the nation are also in dire need of funding. Without either of these changes, the judicial system cannot possibly accept forensic evidence as a basis for criminal convictions. With the current standards in forensic examination, an employee can find a job with a minimal 2-year degree in biology or chemistry. With this limited amount of education, we cannot trust these people to make accurate findings. Many of the common forms of forensic evidence aren't even based on science at all. Like a fingerprint. Does this look the same as this other fingerprint? There's no science behind that at all. Comparing tool markings found at the scene of the crime, and does this guy's shoe print match what we found at the scene? None of this is scientific. Therefore, breakthrough research must be undergone immediately. Congress needs to put an effective law into place stating that all forensic examiners must undergo a rigorous certification course proving that examiners can competently and accurately use all the up-to-date techniques and equipment. Without improvements in the field of forensics, there will be continuing wrongful convictions and lives of families thoroughly destroyed. In the case of the Oklahoma City bombing, Richard Match, the presiding judge, would not allow the prosecutor to testify that they had found a 100% match in the markings left by a drill bit used in the theft of the explosives used. Instead, the judge allowed the examiner to testify that he had found similarities between the two markings. This case goes to prove that the current methods used in forensic labs cannot be trusted to provide accurate information to be used in convictions. In a recent study conducted by the National Research Council, Garrett and Peter Neufeld concluded that in 60% of the cases they were allowed to study, the forensic evidence was misstated in the testimony. They believe that forensic evidence should not be used as a basis for convictions. With a recent increase in violent crime rates, forensic labs are having a difficult time keeping up with all of the work. Labs are understaffed and cannot adequately provide accurate information quick enough to keep lawyers content. There have been several proposed ideas on how to solve this problem, ranging from taxpayers' dollars to a schism in the relationship between forensic labs and the United States government. Critics say that law enforcement agencies play an active part in the determination of forensic evidence. This is true, but even if the labs were to be completely independent of the government, there would still be corruption involved. Would the government allow the forensic scientists access to the crime scene? This would allow falsification of data if they did not. And workers can easily be persuaded to give data that people want to hear. The only reasonable solution to the budget crisis is to gain additional support from the taxpayers' dollars. It would be near impossible to separate two agencies of the government that are so closely related, when the ideal of convicting criminals is the core of both the police department and the forensic labs. How can they not be related? With additional funding from the federal government, forensic labs could reduce the number of backlogged requests as well as the number of scandals and mishandled evidence due to undertrained employees. Critics will argue that the number of wrongful convictions compared to the number of rightful convictions is too small to bother spending the money on this reformation. But can one put a price on the incarceration of an innocent soul? Could a jury avoid the havoc of putting an innocent soul into the prison system if mere taxpayer dollars could solve this problem completely? The answer is yes, and forensic labs are in major need of funding to make this happen. It is time that the American government acts on this infection of wrongful convictions and solves the problem of overburdened and underqualified labs with new methods of forensics that are actually based on scientific methods and not just mere observations. This will cost a large sum of taxpayer dollars, but the benefits of doing so far outweigh the costs.